Alright, we're opening it back up the Discord. We're gonna head straight back into this filter. It's unsorted, okay. Um we are going to head into the next ARG, which was inscryption. Let me just find it real quick. Alright, pull up the document here. Inscryption ARG recap. Again, and huge thank you to Jack underscore O for documenting all this for everyone to see. It is really thank you for it. Also remember, just look up if you want to know how to join the Discord easily. Look up the Daniel your Bones Games right there. Open the home right there, and the Discord is right there. That will instantly get you straight to it. And yeah, the reason I didn't send an invite link, those tend to expire. So just do that. Anyway, we're just gonna head down to this. So, we're going to do a new game. Okay, I'm prop up here. I wonder if I could. That video shows actually pretty good. Hold on one second. This is a known by Flood Mode again. Please subscribe to him. Like, I should probably subscribe to him too. Actually, yeah, he'll probably create another video on this. But yeah, this is what is the Carnoffel code. Now we saw Grimora say something with a K in it. So let's just watch this.
Okay, time to figure out what's on this thing.
Again, just full on disclaimer. This is somebody else's video. Like I said, credit to them. I'm just viewing it, and so you guys can all view it. Okay, I'm just viewing it. It's like a react to it. Like it's his video again. It's just all his praise for it. But I'm just here to react. Okay, so let's just see. Maybe just put on his head. Like he used flash drives. That was hilarious.
All right, hello, and welcome to the Inscryption ARG breakdown, walkthrough, whatever you want to call it, video. We'll get started here shortly, but I wanted to take a quick second to give some context. I ended up getting a lot of positive feedback on my secrets video that I put together, and I mentioned in that one that I wanted to make some kind of ARG video, and I also got some other comments asking for this video. And I'd also noticed looking around, I really made a video on it, so I was like, oh, I can take a crack at that. Joy, if I missed anything, let me know, and we'll just get on with the first part of the ARG. So the starting point for this ARG is at the very beginning of Act 2. If you remember from the secrets video, there was a hidden command line interface that you could access. So if we wipe our save data like this, it'll start this routine. You hit, it'll start it, you hit Control C. It brings up your floppy drive because you just killed the running program, and now you got your inscription, you got your old datas. But real quick, I wanted to try something I didn't do. So you can type help to bring up all the commands you can do, but one I ignored was remove. So we got our inscription game and we got old data, and we can do what Luke Carter tried to do with the hammer, which really isn't the most effective way to get data off of a drive or a floppy disk. It maybe didn't even destroy it, but a more effective solution would just be removing it. So you try that. Oh, you cannot do that. No, I'm gonna remove it. Can't do that. Oh, I guess you can't remove it. It's too powerful. But where the ARG starts is this log.txt, which you can cat. I'm not sure if I did in the secrets video, but you can cat it. It's a bunch of gobbledygook nonsense that who knows how to read this, right? I can't read that. But what you can do is you can decode it. But you need a cipher. But I don't have the cipher, so I'm just gonna say I don't have a cipher. And that doesn't translate anything. But if we just continue, real quick, and this is something I didn't know in the secrets video. You can just hit continue and it'll just keep booting up the game. But I'll be right back. I gotta go back to the main menu real quick. Okay, so we need some kind of cipher now. This would be like a password. It could be numbers, letters, it could be really anything. But once we have that password, it'll decrypt the file using some kind of algorithm. I'm not really sure what algorithm it would use, but that's not the point. What is the point, though, is that we need some kind of passcode to get...
I'm kind of surprised how he actually added the entire command line and directory in this whole game. Like, I don't think it's like hard to code, but now I'm thinking about it, that was like ancient tech stuff, so it probably take like at least 10 bits of data, I guess. I don't know. 100 per, I guess. I don't know how many bits store, but yeah, I'm kind of surprised how that works. Anyway,
get into this file. So I was thinking back to my first playthrough, like, was there any code or hidden messages or just anything weird that I kind of looked at, was like, oh, that's kind of weird, and then ignored because I didn't know what to do with it? I was thinking back on this and I was like, oh, one of the first ones I remembered was this weird hidden message in one of Luke Carter's videos. So in the third video section, there's these error videos that you may have skipped over because they're all messed up. But this one here had something special in it. Oh, what's that? Oh, it's gone. Oh, hey. What's this? It says my college once 12 P-thur-haps question mark blood $sign letterbox. This looks pretty ciphery to me, so let's try decoding that log.txt file back at the command line using this as our cipher. So I'll just put in this cipher here and hit enter to decode the file, and it's still just garbage. So I guess that's not the cipher after all? Then what is it? Well, if you were a fan of Daniel Mullins' other game, The Hex, and you participated in the ARG on that game, which that's a whole nother rabbit hole that I may get into in another video because that's very interesting. But in that other ARG for the Hex, he used a similar format to this, where it was a 3-part code divided by these vertical lines that were giving 3 separate hints on what to do. So if we assume it's the same here, we can separate this into 3 little codes here, and you'll see you have mycologist, perhaps, and blood letterbox. And these all function as hints on what to do next. And so we'll start with the most obvious of these hints, mycologist 12. This is pointing to the mycologist boss fight in part 3, and if you remember from the secrets video, there was something interesting that happened in that fight, so I'll pull my footage of that back up real quick. Okay, I pulled up my footage, and we're looking back at the mycologist fight from part 3, and so when you beat him, he'll combine the douse and something else to make this, which this is what we're looking for here. It's our cipher, but you can see it's just a bunch of numbers. But if you remember, it said mycologist 12, and this is kind of a hint that, not kind of a hint, it is a hint that you need to take the first 12 digits of this big long number here. So 918-234-489-010. So that is our first third of our first cipher. So now we can move on to the second section of our cipher, the perhaps with the 2 question marks after it. And this is a little cryptic, but if you're a fan of Daniel Mullins' previous games and you followed those secret rabbit holes at all, you'll know that phrase kind of sounds familiar. So in Pony Island, there was this audio cue hidden on one of the screens of the game. It was just a simple recording of Daniel Mullins saying his father, pure evil. But since it sounded kind of strange, people assumed it was some kind of reversed message. And when people reversed it, it sounded like a beeper, perhaps. So people were like, oh, what the heck does that mean? Whoa. And Daniel saw these people and patched in an Easter egg about it, and that led to this whole secret rabbit hole. And that's just a whole nother story. He did a GDC talk about it. It's pretty cool. but it's also popped up in his other game, The Hex, as well. And it's here in Inscription too. It's actually in the credits. And you can do this on any part, but I figured part 1 since it's a lot easier to see here. So we're looking for the 3D assets section of the credits, and these are just like 3D models used all throughout the game. But in this section, there's one of these that just stands out. There it is. So let me pause it there. So you can see Beeper by Lewis Nathias, which that's a familiar name to people who are fans of the Hex. It's the CEO of Game Funa, the company that made Inscription, right? Do I know the lore right? I'm pretty sure. But or the fictional, maybe not fictional, who knows? But Lewis Nathias or Lou Nathis, or if you flip that one around, you get Satan, Lou Satan, or just Lucifer. It is Satan. He made the beeper. But the interesting part here is that these links here. So this beeper's a little suspicious. So each asset here has a link to the asset that was used. So like these stylized gravestones, right? You can go over here and reload this page. You can go to this link here, get this stylized gravestone, and that's the gravestone. Oh, it crashed. Oops. It's the gravestones from Grimora's fight. But you can see here, it's got a link here too. But if you go to that in a browser, you're not gonna find anything because it doesn't exist. And also, if you remember, the perhaps had those 2 question marks after it, and this link also has those 2 question marks in it. So I think it's safe to assume that these 7 digits after beeper can be used as our second third of our cipher. And that'll bring us to the third part of our cipher here, the blood letterbox code. What the hell does this mean, right? This one's tough, and I'm not totally sure how people figured it out. My best guess is that they took the first half of this blood, which in this game refers to sacrificing, and figured, well, where do you sacrifice? Oh, well, you sacrifice at the Bone Lord's place in part 1, so maybe it's something with the Bone Lord? It feels like a bit of a logic leap, but I think that's the intended solution here. I might be wrong, so let me know if there's some other solution here that I'm missing. But the Bone Lord did end up being the place to look for this, except it's not the part 1 Bone Lord you need to go to, it's actually at the part 3 Bone Lord. But before we move to that, I gotta talk about the second half letterbox. This one's kind of obvious, but you just need to have your game in a letterboxed resolution, so anything with black bars around it, and that's really all there is to that part. So I've got a save at the part 3 Bone Lord that I'll just load up so we can see what happens. Okay, I've loaded up that save right before the part 3 Bone Lord section. So if we go to options, we crank our resolution down to like this, I think is letterbox. Wait, what would be? Are you letterbox? No. I don't know resolutions. I think it's this. I think this will work. So if I do that and I go in here and the game's going to crash, so I'm going to try to catch it and hopefully I can, but we'll see. So he'll say, "Oh, he found me, so you wish to know more. I have meditated deeply. I have meditated deeply on the old data. I will impart my insights, but you mustn't record them." Oh, I missed it. There was like a single frame of it. Here, I'll pull it up real quick. Okay, I pulled up the recording, and there it is. You can see this 8043 exclamation mark 702D double exclamation mark 666, and this appears for like a whole frame. So if I just like play the video, it's gone. Oop, sorry. Oh, sorry for your eyes. But it is gone. I'll go ahead and put it back up on screen, but this is the third section of our cipher. And now we have the 3 parts of our cipher, so we can head back to the command line and use them all combined to decode log.txt. Okay, so I'm back here at the new game. We can now go back into old data. Then we can, what can we do? We can decode log.txt, and we have our cipher, which is, so from the mycologist, we had 918234489010. Then we put the vertical line to break it. then 8339344 question marks from the beeper. Then we have 8043 exclamation mark $ 702D exclamation marks $ 666. And that's our cipher. We enter it, and look at that. We got translation, baby. And so this says the following. Yeah, it did. Poor old Barry Wilkinson, aka Big Ear, was in prison literally hours after these words were written to the disc. He did eventually get back to the States, but I have not had any luck contacting him. There are actually a shit ton of Barry Wilkinsons, and it might not even be his real name. Eureka! That explains so much, actually. I could not figure out why this disc would be tossed into a crate with a bunch of blank ones. Barry's plan to smuggle it out this way seems contrived at best, but I can't imagine the pressure he was under over there. Indeed, Barry. Indeed. Fuck you too, Mr. Kaminsky. They never told us that. Yes, he is equally angry in person. So this log is a little incoherent because you're only getting one person's side of this conversation. It's actually a conversation between 3 different people in this log. You have Barry Wilkinson, Mr. Kaminsky, and this third person here who's C in the conversation, and this is Casey Hobbs, the developer of Inscryption. And it looks like she's talking about some kind of disc that eventually made it back to the States, and she hasn't been able to find Barry Wilkinson. She was wondering why the disc got stuffed in a crate, and it looks like they were smuggling it into the States, and she's mad at Mr. Kaminsky. So that's really all we're being told here, but this will continue because you can see that there's more to decode here. But when I was reading it, you probably noticed like SE167B and all these weird like bracketed off sections in here, and these are actually our second set of hints. And if you line them all up vertically, they don't really add up to much, but what you can notice is that there's a vertical line like the previous cipher. So if we line them all up horizontally and use the vertical line as a breaking point, it kind of makes more sense. Like you can see there's like one that says like archive new game, and there's like 23K2 floor, then like SE167 BP true, which these are our next 3 hints for where to go after this. So we can use these as hints to find our second cipher that will further decode log.txt. So let's get started with the first third of this SE167 BP true. And this one, a little confusing, because you actually need to go outside the game. It's where the ARG aspects of going out of the game begin. But what this is referring to is 2 different sections of the game's save file. The SE stands for story events, and the BP stands for Bone Lord puzzle. So if you open up your save file.gw save, which is just your save file, you'll see these, or you'll get this long, big ass text file that has like everything you could need in the game and tells you exactly where you're at, what you're doing, how many cards you got, whatever. But if you remember, the code was SE167, which if that correlates to these story events. And so this is just a list of story events that you've completed. Like, have you beaten the Prospector? Have you beaten Leshy? Have you blah, 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 whatever. It's just like a bunch of flags saying where you're at in the game. But this is referring to story event 167. And so what you can do is actually scroll down here and add in 167, but also you need to increment the length of this list because it thinks there's 59 items, so it would only read the 59 ones and not the 60th one you just added in. So you just do that. And then another quick kind of funny thing is that the 167 event actually correlates to uh-oh spaghetti-o. That's what it's called in the events list. I thought that was kind of funny. Yeah, so I guess This has just been hidden here the whole time, but I thought it was cute that it was just called uh-oh spaghetti-o. But anyway, you can add 167 to your list here, and then make sure to increment the length of the list to 60. But that's only the first half of this. The second you need to have true is this Bone Lord puzzle field. But for the sake of showing this off a little better, I want to change this to false real quick. But if you did change that to true and add in story event 167, you would immediately see what happens and the game would crash. But I want to show it off in game because you can actually change this flag here to true by doing something in game. So I'll boot that up real quick and we'll get right back to it. Okay, so I'm here at the cabin in part 1 with that save file I grabbed. That's basically just like right at the end of part 1. Already beat everything. But the important thing here is we turn that Bone Lord puzzle to false. And after some point in Act 1, the Bone Lord skull will appear on the wall here. But if you click it like 10 times, the eyes light up. And that means Bone Lord puzzle active is now true. So now that that's true and I have story event 167 in my story events list, I can go over here and just be warned here, this is a fucking jump scare. Like this scared the shit out of me when it happened the first time, but and the game's gonna crash, so I'm gonna try to grab it real quick. But here we go. I'm gonna go in and back out. So here comes a jump scare. I didn't get it. I got it. I had to alt tab before the game crashed, but boom, there it is. It says I am learned too much, but in like condensed mode. So that's the first third of our second cipher. And then I'm gonna tab back in and the game's gonna crash. And there it goes. Bye-bye. But that's the first third of our cipher, so we'll move to the second third, the 23K2 floor. This one is more complicated, so I'll get to a point where I can show it off real quick. Okay, so our next one is 23K2 floor, or F4 with the exclamation mark. But this is actually two ciphers within the mini cipher. So you can split it up to 232K or 23K2 and the floor one. But first, I'll take the 23K2 one. This one, if you remember the videos, right, it sounds kind of familiar to one scene in particular. This one on 1016. If you remembered, if you read what was on screen here, oh my god, that was loud. But if you read what was on screen here, it says pig 3K pig. But so it's partially familiar, but like that's not a 2, right? Pig, that's not a 2. But what you didn't know, so this actually has to do with the game Karnoffel, which the whole Karnoffel code it's named after, but it's Europe's oldest card game, Karnoffel. But if you scroll down here, you learn a little bit about how the game works, blah blah blah, and you notice one thing that kind of stands out a little bit. You get these bells here that you're like, wait, I kind of bells are familiar, but then, oh, who's that? Who's this guy? It's the Douse, aka the Deuce, aka 2, the number 2, and he's a pig. This means that the pig means 2, or the Douse, or Deuce. But what about these other symbols, the 3 and the K? What do they mean? I think people data mine this solution just looking it into the code of the game and seeing like some kind of weird combination of cards. But they notice the Mantis God, because it has the triple strike and it's the only card that has triple strike in part 1 at least. And then K, in normal cards, K means king. So the Rat King. So maybe playing these in the game would do something. And so let's let's try that. And conveniently, oh, would you look at that? I got those 4 cards and only those 4 cards. How wacky is that? Now there's a save file generously posted by Dvorak42 in the Discord, and it saved me a ton of time on this, so thanks for posting that. But they put it right before a fight where you could do this setup, so I will attempt to set that up real quick. And they said they actually were super nice with their setup. So what you need to do here is just block with squirrels until I have enough. So I will just play it out. So I can block. He's gonna use 3 wolves, but I can block and then I can cut them. I can do squirrel and then end. Boop. And he should concede here. Yep, he concedes. Okay, cool. So I can scissor that. Then I got free reign to do whatever I want. So I'm just gonna draw. Okay, we're out of cards. But what I want to do is play Mantis God last because I need at least 2 things on the board to summon anything. So we'll just put squirrels down for now. And so what do we want to do? We want to do Douse, Mantis God, Rat King, Douse. Douse? How do you say that? It's Douse, right? We'll do Douse here. Oh, you got a bell. I fucked up. Did I say screwed up? I meant I nailed it. I didn't screw up at all. Haha. But I need to be able to block those chimes that come out from the Douse. So what I want to do is put this guy here, this guy there, Douse there, blocked on both sides. Yeah, no chimes. I didn't know he had dialogue for that. That's actually kind of cool. Then Douse, do that. Boop. Blocked on both sides again. Squirrel. Then Rat King. And then lastly, we get our Mantis God in. And we'll see something neat. So we'll get, oh, and there it is. All the names changed to STOP, which for all you English speakers out there, that says stop. So that's the first half of our third of the second cipher. That wasn't confusing at all. Was it? But then we still got that second half, the F exclamation mark OOR. And so since we had to look at this video of Luke Carter falling into madness, you notice these sticky notes, but there's also this one up here, and this is a clue to this puzzle here with the F exclamation mark OOR. So this says M exclamation mark RROR, mirror, or rorim, which is just mirror backwards. I think the exclamation mark is supposed to be a hint here. So if we flip that for, it says roof with an exclamation mark in the middle, but that's not important. But it says roof. So were there any roofs in the game? There's one roof I can remember, being very distinct, because most of these down here in part 2 that you just go inside the building, but for Leshy's though, you start outside, and look at that. There's a little cabin roof here. This is kind of a weird solution to this cipher here. I would have never honestly been able to figure this out. Maybe there's another hint that I'm missing, but so if you look at the roof, you'll notice there's holes in it. And if we were to read this kind of left to right and counting the numbers on the floor here, the 273, which is just the safe code, then count the holes in the roof on each section of the roof, you can get the code 27341. And that'll be the second half of, and then our last third of our second cipher is this archive new game, which this is another cipher that can be split in half to make two parts. So this must have been really confusing when it first was getting solved. I wasn't there again. I wish I was, but this must have been really confusing because it was like archive new game. So you assume like, oh, archive is the archivist. So I need to hand the archivist a new game file, right? No, it's actually two halves, and you'll see the similarities in a second. So I will pull up the archivist fight footage I have because it's something you need to listen to. So I'll move to that real quick. Okay, so this is my footage of the archivist boss fight, and I'll let it play out when the fight starts here in just a sec. Okay. Okay, you may have heard it there. There was some Morse code in the music for the archivist. But if we pull up Audacity real quick, where I just recorded what just played. So like if I go through here, it'll, oh, there's me fiddling with it. Where is the actual music though? Let's add some gain. Okay, so it started right here. Wait, where's the Morse code start? And okay, so Morse code starts right there. But this is something new I learned. I didn't know you could do this. But for like, who knows how to read Morse code, right? I don't really know, but I learned you can just whip out the old spectrogram here, and if you zoom in on it, look at that. You see them? You see those things? These little red things. Oh, so this is like right when the Morse code starts. It goes. But these red are dots and dashes, which is how Morse code works. It's dots, dashes, and space, empty space, and it just decodes into a message. But so you can use a spectrogram to like read it. And so if we translate this, it says, I assume this is a dash right here. It's kind of cut off right there, but that's dash dot 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 dash dash dot 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 dash dot dash dot. And so if we whip out the handy dandy Morse code translator, you put in that little code you just got, and it says big ear. And so that's the first half of our third cipher, our third, the first half of our third of the second cipher. But then that leaves the new game part of the cipher, which that is actually relevant. You'd think it'd be like the new game. You think you need to start some kind of new game, but it's involving the beeping and the flashing of the new game symbol. I've got a save here where I can move around in part 3 because it's only in the part 3 save file, or part 3 part, but it may be in part 1. I'm not really sure. It's just a new game, which is in this box, and it's also behind Leshy's door. But you can see it's it's doing like a dot and a dash type system. But I don't really have an ear for Morse code, and I've tried translating this one. I'll show you real quick. So here's the spectrogram for that new game box that's just sitting there beeping, and you can kind of, or not beeping, but like flashing and, you know, doing its Morse code. But you can see like these spikes here are when it goes like dun 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 dun. But it's a lot. Unlike the archivist music, there was usually like a dot and a dash down here, but since this isn't traditional Morse code, it's a little harder to read. But you can listen back to it, and it goes dot 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 dot. Yeah, so you can hear it there. But I was struggling to translate this. I tried translating this the other night, but I was struggling because it's kind of hard to like tell the difference. I don't have the ear for it where I can tell the difference between like a dot and a dash in this format, at least. Like you can kind of change the speed and like do do. I can attempt to translate it. I might get close. We'll see real quick. But also, the tricky thing with Morse code is you don't know where the end or beginning of this is, because I could have started recording at any point during the message. So I may not be at the beginning of it. So it repeats infinitely. So you just gotta like shift your letters until you have a something that makes sense. But I'll try to translate it real quick and listen back to it and see what happens. Okay, at this point, I've done like I don't know 10-15 minutes of listening to this. It's too hard for me personally. I'm not very experienced with Morse code. Yeah, so I don't fully know what I'm looking at, and I filtered out the noise so you can hear like doo doo doo. But I do know how to at least like break it down into what it is. So if I go over here, it gets the point across, right? I slowed it down. I filtered out all the like background noise, and you can at least see the dots and the dashes. I was having trouble telling them apart, but I knew the solution, and I don't know how. Maybe people are much better at Morse code, and I'm doing something wrong. But you can see here that it's a dot. There's a dash dot dash 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 dot 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 dot. dot. But if given the cool art I did here, it says no chance, which is our second half of our third cipher, or our third of the second cipher. Boom, got it. It's so hard to say at this point, but this is like the last like super complicated one. But yeah, no chance. And this message repeats, so you can come in at like any point, and I had to isolate it and figure out when it repeated. It kind of repeats like instantly. There's no break between this one. I think there's like a line like right here. I can't draw straight. But there's a line like right next to this one, so there's no pause, which threw me off and is very hard to listen to. But it says no chance, and that's actually our last chunk of the second cipher. So we can go decode log.text again. Okay, so we're here at our old data again. We can decode log.text, and this time we put in our newly acquired cipher, which, let me get my notes out here. It is I am learned this, then stop, then original cipher as like blank space, and also to fill in like our message on that last one was like archive $ new hashtag game, which you can kind of interpret as the hashtag being or pound, I guess. I don't know if it's hashtag, it'd be pound, right? Everyone calls it hashtag nowadays, right? But you can interpret that as the space between big ear and no chance. And so you can add that into your cipher, and this will hopefully correctly decode. Uh-oh, that didn't work. Oh, I figured it out. I believe you need to put in the original one, and I should have saved it off, but I'll do it real quick. Okay, this should decode to that original one. Then I can further decode this, right? Is that how that works? What if I save log.text, right? It's been saved. So now if I cat log.text, okay, oh, it's ugly, but it at least saved my decoded version of it. But then we decode it even further. Log.text, let's decode that. Now we can put in our second cipher of I am. Okay, so now we get, oh wait, never mind, hold up. No, hold up, I did get it. So this decoded the second half of this, and you can see it's in, I don't know, what is that, Polish, I think? I don't speak Polish, unfortunately, but with a little bit of movie magic, I overlaid the translated text on top and says, I couldn't crack that encryption. I shouldn't even be, but what can I do to kill the fucking time? Fucking idiot. The fate of the world if you consider the far-reaching effects. And you throw it into a chest with lots of identical discs? Now we have to kiss these fucking Russian shoes or risk the worst fucking fate. I certainly have better things to do than read and reread this top secret disc. But no, the fucking idiots at Game Funa have to finish their game. It's a fucking cover, people. Nobody will play it. Just give me a clone of the Super Weasel Kid so I can print it out so I don't get a knock on my door at 11 o'clock by some 8-foot Russian. So yeah, some People were trying to crack the encryption on the old data, I believe, but some Russians are going to show up if they do it, and Game Food was like, we got to finish our game, we need this data. I don't know the time period for this. I need to look into this a little more. But one thing I skipped over again are these special code blocks again, these like random bracketed off sections. So if I line those up again, first one says book to beginning, which would be back to beginning. Second one says manatee, hashtag. And the third one says B1 1 in $$ 5657M. So just like in the last two parts, these are more hints that we can use to put together a third cipher that'll let us further decode log.txt. So I guess we'll get started with the first one in this bunch, back to beginning. What could this refer to? It'd be going back to the beginning of something. So thinking about the history of inscription, if you look into Daniel Mullins' itch.io page, you can see that he actually made the demo for inscription, or what became inscription. It was originally called Sacrifices Must Be Made. And so you can actually download it from his site, and then you boot it up. And then it's just an older version of inscription, but it's the demo version. But you need to play this, but what I need to do first is add a special file into the data folder for this, so I'll do that real quick. So before you boot up the game, you need to go into the Sacrifices Must Be Made data folder and create a new file called cipher.cipher. And this file is pretty familiar to fans of the Hex's ARG because it was used to solve part of that ARG. I could get into it in another video, but regardless, people saw that this demo was updated on the day of Inscription's release. So naturally, people went digging and wanted to see what had changed in the demo. And people found that you could now put a cipher.cipher and it would react to it. But first, people had to figure out the cipher itself. And it wound up being the second cipher that we just used to decode log.txt, the one with I am learned too much in it. And so I will add that into this file here, and then we will see what happens. So since I've now got that cipher.cipher in the folder, all I need to do is get to the end of the demo, so I'll just cut ahead here to the final fight. I will offer my knife to you again. Be careful when you use it. You will not have a great hand after. Wait, what? He said he would destroy my hand? Wait, how does this work? So he cut... Oh, I cut my hand off. A heavy hand. Oh no, I hope I don't... I hope 3 damage is enough to win. Oh my god, I've done it. What have you done to me? This new knowledge flooding into my head. I cannot unlearn what lies ahead. There it is. That's the thing we're here for. And the game just crashes. Classic. But that said, either white lies ahead or what lies ahead. The exclamation mark and the lack of letters kind of makes it hard to read. But that is what the back to beginning one meant. It meant go back to play the demo from the game jam. But that's the first third of our third cipher, and so I'll now move on to the next one. And our second cipher is just manatee with 2 hashtags after it. So what the hell does that mean, right? Like, there's, as far as I know, there's no manatees in the game. I don't know anything about manatees. I don't know. This one was confusing. I think people brute forced this one and figured it out through other means, but Daniel Mullins had planned for this part to be kind of confusing because it was very obscure and very well hidden. But he did leave a hint on where to start on this in the game. If you remember, when Luke Carter in the game finds, that he finds the skeleton card that has the coordinates on it, and these are actually not the most perfect coordinates, but they line up to where, it was buried in real life, like the floppy disk. So people, decided, what if we went to those coordinates? And so some people in the Daniel Mullins Discord actually went out to those coordinates, met up with Daniel Mullins and Kevin Saxby, the actor who played Luke Carter, and they streamed themselves digging up the disc. And here's what happened.
Yeah. Thank you.
This
Oh, what's this?
art?
You're actually not supposed to have that.
But it says inscription on it. What do you mean?
Just don't take that, okay?
Fucking idiot.
So they did. Daniel Mullins attacked them. He didn't want them getting the disc. But no, they're not actually dead. It was just a good meme, a really good bit actually. Like in the moment, I think I was listening to an interview where he had to like in the moment do that and meet them in like a place and set all that up to where they could, like stage that event where he punches him in the face. I thought that was really well put together, especially like last minute like that. But if you saw there, there was a second floppy. Oh, they're dead. So he found the second floppy. There's the original right there that they dug up, and then there's a second floppy that. What's on that one? Well, these people got to keep both of these floppy disks for themselves, but the original inscription floppy was like messed up and had nothing on it. It's just a kind of like a trophy at this point. It's empty and it's covered in dirt. It's not going to be able to read anything. But this cleaner black and blue floppy actually had a hint on it. And so these guys went and actually opened the floppy on stream, and here's what they found.
Okay,
Don't
so
scam the
floppy
chat.
disk drive A file, text document,
Let's see what we got.
and this is all that's in it. Is this guy moaned?
That guy did moan.
This
I
guy
gotta
moaned is the is what's on the disc.
And that's all that was on there. This guy moaned. That's it. What does that tell you besides the meme where the guy goes, "This guy moaned at least this loud." Oh, or he screams, you know that one? But what does this tell you? So apparently, I can't pull it up at the moment, but I can use this VOD real quick to pull it up. So this is super obscure, but this is a hint to our solution for this manatee cipher. But these guys found out that this guy moaned is actually a Reddit account created by Daniel Mullins. So they went to his Reddit account and they looked at his post history, and then one of these kind of stood out, kind of weird, where he's got just like random. My phone was stolen. What's a good replacement? Looking for a voice actor. And then this last one here, I'd like to share my first custom faction, the Aqua Romans, part of a custom set. That's kind of funky. Remember, there was a log on Luke Carter's. Once you beat the Archivist, they'll show up. There's a log that said like, "Oh, the Aqua Romans. I got a Julius C-Star and all that." And these were actually a custom smash up faction. I don't really know what smash up is. Sorry, but they were a custom card faction created by Daniel Mullins literally 3-4 years ago. And the Reddit account has been deleted at this point, but you can still find the post right here. And so you can find something interesting in it where he's talking about his cards and all the ones he's made, but you can go here to the album of cards and you see like Octotavian, cute Roman jokes. But then there's this guy right here, Manatee Anthony. Manatee, hey, that's a little familiar, right? So it was Manatee ##, which people have interpreted that the hashtags were just meant to fill in the 10 required characters. Yeah, no, 9 required characters for the second half of the cipher. But then it's obviously not Manatee #, but so what would work here? Try Anthony ##, which would fill in, it would need 3 hashtags. So people tried Anthony ###, or pound, and that was the second cipher. But it's crazy to me that they hid, or not they, Daniel Mullins hid a solution in a 4-year-old Reddit post. That's just insane to me, and it's great. I love stuff like this. And so that'll be the second third of our cipher, the Anthony ###, pound. And so we can move on to the third and final section of our cipher. And so the third and final section of our third cipher is B1RCHK1N, some $signs, then 5657M. What does that mean? It's actually 2 separate mini ciphers within this. The first is Birchkin in Leet Speak, as the gamers call it. People still use Leet Speak anymore? Is that still cool? But anyway, if you remember in Luke Carter's like first unboxing video. He's like, "Oh, I got a foil birchkin or something." He says birchkin. But what was he unboxing in that video? He was unboxing a pack of Catch Monsters, I think. Which let's look that one up. Catch Monsters, Daniel Mullins. Yeah, and if you look it up, you can find that it's actually a adult reimagining of Pokemon that focuses on a deeper single player experience. Blah 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 blah. But it was a failed, unfortunately, Kickstarter that Daniel Mullins was running back in 2014. Oh my god, that's so old. But it was this. But you can actually download the pre-alpha demo. And so we boot up the demo for Catch Monsters, and we choose a team to battle. These are all wacky creatures, but I'm gonna choose the elemental team. And so we got all these crazy characters in this battle. You got Bandog. Remember, that was the rare that Luke Carter pulled from that pack. You got Owlbear. You got Woolly Tusk. You got Moonrock Elemental. You got Diamond Elemental, and then you got Birchkin. That's familiar. That's him. Birchkin. There he is. So knowing that our cipher is Birchkin, which is what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 letters. What can we look around here and see what else is 8 letters here that would fit like in this cipher, following suit from like the Manatee, where you kind of needed to fill it in the same number, right? The same length. Does that make sense? Yeah. But one thing that also is 8 letters on here, pacifism, his ability, Pacifism. Look at that. So that is the only thing on here that I think would fit. So using that would be the first half of our last third of this final cipher. And so we'll try pacifism. But then there's these $signs also that are their own little way of spacing, so that we'll just assume that they're there to add spacing. But then this final thing, 56-57M. What does that mean? This one is a little interesting, and I could probably go on for another hour about the relevance of this, because it deals with Daniel Mullins' other game, The Hex, and its own ARG that I still kind of almost want to make another video on, because that's a deep one too. That one's really cool. I won't spoil it, but it's kind of hard not to spoil it this way. But it deals with a free game on Steam called Beneath the Surface, which is a neat little fishing game that I've already played a little bit of, and I didn't know it saved. Turns out it does. But I played a little bit of. It's kind of like a clicker game, but all you do is you fish. And look at, wait, that looks familiar, doesn't it? 4.5 meters. And so people have found out you need to fish to the 56 to 57 meters mark, which means you got to play a little bit. But I do need to add something real quick before I do that, so I'll be right back with that. So what you got to do before you play Beneath the Surface is you got to do what you did with Sacrifices Must Be Made. You got to add this cipher.cipher. Oh, I can't spell. Cipher. There we go. Cipher.cipher. It will not be usable. It's okay. We will edit it with Notepad++. Close that one. Don't need that. But what we want to put in here is the first cipher we used to unlock the log.txt the first time, or decode log.txt the first time. So we'll save that. Then we'll boot back up on Beneath the Surface real quick. And then we are back in here. And so we'll just play until we can get 50 meters, because my line length is only 35 meters, so I'll just play a little, because I actually haven't been able to play this. Okay, so that's 60 meter line length. What's my max? Is it 55 right now? Oh, I can do it. Okay, here we go. So we got enough line length, so we want to get to 56, between 56 and 57. We catch something. What do we get? Oh, what do we get? We get an anchovy. That's not what we wanted. We go again. Okay, 56.3 again. Oh, what we got? Oh, I'm feeling good about this one. Oh, hey, it's my second channel, Flimbons. Pranked you into watching an ad here. I've been trying out streaming over there, and I've been uploading comments interesting to you. But out there, if you on by, say, okay, 56.6. Is that a good point? Ugh, go. Oh, there it is. Strange disc. I think I screwed it up. It's not encrypted like I thought it would be, or unencrypted. I screwed up. All right, I figured out what I screwed up. I forgot to put it in the data folder. It needs to be in data, not in the base games directory. I was told it needed to be by the exe, but maybe it needs to be in the data. I guess we'll see. Let me hop back in, and then I will continue to fish. Woohoo! Oh, it's a big one. Hey, on the first try. Strange disc. Who knows what secrets are inscribed upon it? But you'll notice there's some funky characters in here, like 004, a 4, an exclamation mark, a 3, and I think that's it. So taking those funky characters, those funky digits on the front of the strange disc, we can get 004, 4, exclamation mark, 3. And so that is the third, or the second half of this third section of our third cipher. And so we can head back on over to inscryption to do our next decoding. Okay, I had to re-encode or re-decode the log.txt because I forgot to save it last time. But I've got the Polish here, got the first section, but now I can further decode, and then we'll get a third section to decode. Than like what, because mana character thing. Then point 3. Some stuff up here. Ooh, let's see. Okay, so here is our next message. It says, "This is it. This transcribed journal page reveals the very location of Hitler? Hitler's rotting corpse? Hitler? Oh. And more importantly, the precisely ordered deck of cards in his jacket pocket. The Karnaffel code was the... So the Karnaffel code is a deck of cards that are in a certain order in his pocket, in Hitler's pocket? What? I cracked the encryption last night. My situation here in the USSR is delicate, but I believe this intelligence warrants an action that may blow my cover. I'm now prepared to smuggle the disk out of Moscow to West Berlin, then on Data Corrupted. For any quality concerns, please contact Kaminsky Data Storage. Kaminsky Manufacture, MFG. Oh, there's like a little order from Boston. So he's going from West Berlin to Boston. Sorry, I was reading that. The disk is carefully concealed among many blank ones. I believe the plan will work, and if it does not, better to lose this old data than allow the Soviets an opportunity to use it. How fitting. And that's... I'm going to save that off real quick before I forget. But going back up. So it's Hitler's deck of cards is the Karnaffel code, and I guess that whatever evil was contained within that code is now on the inscription disk, right? Is that the deal? Maybe someone better could explain, or someone could explain that better to me. I'm still a little lost on what this means, but this isn't it, because you can see there's still a little section that needs to be decoded up here. So if we look in here, you can see this data corrupt message. Go to HTTPS, which I assume this was written around the time of Hitler's death, right? I don't think they had HTTPS back then. I don't think they had the internet, did they? Regardless, tells you to go to www.lkaminskylmfg or kaminskylmfg.com/order form. But these aren't actually L's. The text makes it look like L's, so it's just kaminskymfg.com/order form. So if I go to kaminskymfg.com, it's at 404s right now. I don't think it did originally when the ARG was happening, but if you go to order form, it'll say Kaminsky Data Storage Manufacturing. Orders is full. Seriously, what is wrong with you? Please await packages in mail if ordered. And this is due to the ARG being over for like a month at this point. But I'll put images up of what... Actually, I can show you them right now. Hold up. Just give me 1 second. So on the right is what you would have seen on this page, where it's like you're filling out a replacement order for, you know, some... I don't know. I guess this is like a floppy disk company. But you're filling out a replacement order, and you fill out what's wrong with your product. You get a promo code. Maybe you have it. I don't know. I don't know if anyone had a promo code. Maybe you had to put in the cipher. But The address portion here is the important part, and some brave people decided to put their actual address in and filled it out. And then the site just shut down, and now it shows this, like, orders is full. And what this meant was that 3 floppy disks were being sent out to 3 lucky people. And the first person to receive one of these floppy drives was Uwawa, and he streamed it for everyone to see as he opened it up on his Twitch channel, twitch.tv/UwawaSmite. I put a link in the description to his channel if you're interested in checking him out. But he put in his address and found, and he had to order a floppy disk reader so he could read the actual floppy, and then on it had, so he found floppy disk drive A, but on it he found the following: backup_2 #2#, which is just a text file. So we opened the text file and it contained 3 lines. The first one isn't really, I'll get into that later, but the second one, it looks like the middle point of a cipher. So it says playing ##, with the 2 guide, or 2 breaking lines, that's it. But it had the 2 break lines. It says playing in the middle, and then the third line says just E, with a capital E, with just 3 things. But people kind of assumed, and this was the first disc that actually got opened, and people kind of put it together while the other 2 are being delivered, that the cipher for this was just like, thank you for playing the game, but with hashtags in between, and people just tried different combinations until it eventually worked. And they put it together using this clue here at the bottom that says, just like people assumed said the end, but the real puzzle here was that it was meant to be 3 floppy disks sent out to 3 different people who would then open it and share with others, and then combine that into a new cipher, and then this would be the end of the ARG. And so people guessed that the cipher would be thank you for #. Then we knew the middle one was playing. And then people kind of assumed it was inscription friend, but that didn't work. So people were like, oh, maybe the break line is meant to be the I, so it looks like that. So like inscription friend, like that. I never would have figured that out, but the brilliant minds over at the Daniel Mullins Discord actually like blew through this insanely quick. But this will give us our final decoding of log.txt, which I will save real quick. Text. So we can go all the way to the top, and it is in Russian, which I can't read. Woohoo! So I'll do some more movie magic, and boom, we got it translated. So it says top secret information. Also at the top it says 30th of April 1945, but top secret information. Me and my comrade Maxim took photographs of the corpse and buried it at the drop-off spot at data corrupted. For any quality concerns, please contact Kaminsky Data Storage Manufacturing. We are currently awaiting further instructions in a local tavern, playing a lot of Duroc, accompanied with a few glasses of vodka. We are full and satisfied, but about our accomplished, we won't say a word to our work today. It seems to us we have already come to the end of such a long journey. So I guess in 1945, they grabbed whatever the Karnoffel code was on Hitler's body and just snuck it to Russia? Is that right? Am I reading that correctly? They're hanging out in a tavern, playing some Duroc and just getting drunk on some vodka. Yeah, so this explains what kind of the Karnoffel code is. It was a thing on Hitler's body, and maybe someone else could explain better. I'm probably not the best to explain it. I just thought it was really cool. But there's one final thing that I skipped over in those 3 floppy disks. So I skipped over this when I was going over, but there were 3 text files sent out that combined said thank you for playing, inscription friend. But this first line is actually, it's kind of blanked out in each one in certain sections, but if you combine them all together, they combine into this, which looks like random gibberish. But if you've ever watched a YouTube video before, and oh, what the heck, you're doing that right now, that's crazy. But you can go to YouTube, and you go youtube.com/watch?v, then you can post in that video ID, and that will take you to here. Oh, that's loud. But this takes you to this video called 1019.mp4, which familiar noise in the background, right? Super loud and not ear shattering. But let's just watch and see what happens. It was the Stoat. He's still out there. So even though Loot Carter stopped the upload of Inscryption, the Stoat/P3 was somehow able to resume the upload, and that's how we ended up with the version of Inscryption that released on Steam on October 19th. So this ties up that question of how it ended up on Steam. But it also hopefully opens up some possibilities for the future, since P3's still out there. He still uploaded himself into the